Good morning. I want to give you some insight about a Black prominent community which once existed in Priceville. I had never heard of Priceville until I am currently taking a course in Afrocentric social work practice at the University of Northern BC as part of my master's degree, and the course is given by Dr. Emmanuel Shelanga. I want to start with giving you a bit of the history here about Priceville. So, in the early 1850s, there existed a Black community on the Sojin Ojibwe territory, a village of about 200 people. And out of those 200 people, existed 117 Black settlers who had come to Priceville. 12% were refugees from slavery or the Free Loyalists, and they were given lands to cultivate, and they took this opportunity to establish their own Black community. The census of 1851 indicates that there was about 50 acre lots that were settled by the Black families. By the 1880s, the lands were taken away from them and given to Irish and Scottish settlers. And it's not that the Black community did not want to purchase the land. They did want to purchase these lands, but they were denied. And instead, it was given to Irish and Scottish settlers. By the early 1930s, all the traces of the Black community which once existed in Priceville vanished, including the cemetery. The cemetery was plowed over by an Irish settler by the name of Mr. Reed. And he plowed the cemetery so he could cultivate a potato field. There were approximately 200 tombs on this cemetery, and they were dismantled and dispersed. Some of the tombstones were used as bases in a baseball field. Some of the tombstones were used as stepping stones within a barn. All this history lost due to the desecrated action of this cemetery, which is awful. It's terrible. Despite having been displaced, the Black community showed strength and resilience. They have strong philosophical values, and let me tell you about some of them. For example, Ubuntu is I am because we are. It's about a collective effort, understanding, lived experience. It is a collective effort, not an individual effort. Ujama is about working together as a family. Ukama, I can give you an example. It takes a village to raise a child. Raising a child is not about having two parents. It is about having a community together raising children. Yukuru is that everyone in the community had a voice. It was not one person in the community giving voice. Together, they had a voice for decision making. And Uhuru is that it represents freedom. And they built their own community and they were thriving. Spatial displacement was based on anti-Black government policies. and I'll give you some examples here. In Ogan's Alley, which is located in Vancouver area, the Black community was destroyed for the construction of Dunsmuir viaducts, where the policy stated it was for the purpose of modernization and slum clearance. It was not a slum. It was a thriving Black community, and they had Ubuntu, Ujamaa, and Kujishagulia in place. It was successful. It was not a slum. Ogan's Alley is only one example where actual racialized spatial restructuring and displacement took place for Black communities. I have other examples. Canada's history of Black settlement is defined by both inclusion and exclusion operating simultaneously. Was it really inclusion? No, it wasn't. It was an era of urban displacement with systemic expressions of anti-Black racism embedded in municipal governments, housing policy, and urban development regimes. For example, Black communities were denied clean water, sewage, and paved roads as a result of the masked admin jargon. The goal was to create an epistemic erasure. Another example, in Priceville, which is located in Nova Scotia, this was dismantled between 1964 and 1970, where homes were demolished, residents displaced to public housing and other urban areas without acknowledging importance of Ubuntu. The purpose was epistemic erasure, where the legitimacy of Black placemaking was denied within dominant hysterical narratives. So the goal was to ensure that the Black communities were disseminated. They did not like to see the collectivity of these Black communities, and they wanted it all dispersed. The policies, that is. The consequences of those policies are still being observed today, seen, and they are interconnected in nature. You can see the disparities in the criminal justice system, the housing, insecurities and fragmentation, and also in child welfare. I have included in my presentation some of the latest articles that I could find showing the disparities amongst these three factors. I encourage you to read further on these. What this means for social work practitioners is that Yukuru considerations are critical. And what I mean by that is to reject the one-size-fits-all and instead take into consideration family, community, ancestry, spirituality, and environmental structural forces. These are valuable factors to take into consideration when working with an individual of Black ancestry. And I want to enforce that despite having a person looking as a white person, that individual could also have Black history within them based on their ancestry, and it must be evaluated and reviewed. So remember the terms Ubuntu, I am because we are. It's a collectivity, not an individuality. Ujamaa is about cooperative economics where everyone within the Black community help each other with food, money, essentials. It's not about individuality, it's about together striving for the best economics to survive, to live in a good way. And the restoration of voice is not about having one individual make a decision, but rather it is a collective decision. And this is called Yu'uru. Yukama is about taking into consideration extended family. Just because someone of Black ancestry leaves their child with a church member or a non-blood relative doesn't mean that they are unable to care, because for them, it's about collectivity. It takes a village to raise a child. It is very important to take yukuru into consideration because yukuru is about the effects, the impact colonization, domination, and suppression affects an individual's being. Self-determination is very important and is referred to as Kujishagulia. Sankofa is about returning to the past to inform the future. So educating oneself about the Black history within Canada is important when practicing social work within Canada. Efforts are always being made to restore the presence of the Black history in Canada. For example, in Priceville, the Old Durham Road Pioneer Cemetery, there's a committee that has been established in order to restore the burial ground and register the cemetery so that the Black individuals can find out about their history that has been lost as a result of the desecrated of the cemetery. I hope this video gives you some insight into the experiences of Black communities within Canada. And just because one person may look white does not mean they do not have Black ancestry within them, as we have been made aware that the Black ancestors have been here in Canada for a very long time. And it would not be surprising to hear that one may have Black history within their ancestry. And it is important to convey this through education. So I thank you for listening, and I hope you continue on this learning journey in a good way to help individuals through your social work practice by considering Ubuntu as a collective and non-individualistic way of helping someone. Thank you.